So Bitcoin really made its big move. We were, for the longest time, in a very stable period and expecting Bitcoin to do something drastic. And now, as of today, it really made a giant dive downwards. So we counted candles, around 4 candles. It took to take the price down from 9,800 to 8,100. So that was the big flash crash that really freaked a lot of people out, and it went all over news. And right now, as of right now, if you look at the altcoin markets too, everything is down. Everything is down double digits. We got Ethereum at $168. We got Litecoin 55, EOS 2.82. It's a bloodbath today. And we're gonna talk a little bit about what is kind of happening. I think this is one of the times where TA really can chime in to explain this kind of shift that's happening. And I think I do want to answer your questions as well. I mean, I saw online there are some people who are freaked out by this. Like, it's definitely scary if we, especially since we haven't seen it in a while, just the magnitude of this, and especially if you were not braced for something like this. So something on my channel I've been talking about is always just bracing for sudden movements down or sudden movements up. And even when I was doing the Ivan on Tech talk last week, we were talking, potentially there were bull indicators, there's upsides, but there's also tremendous potential downside as well. So anyways, in this video, I'm going to cover what I think is happening, what I think we can go forward with, and why this is really a good thing for crypto. Anyways, guys, everything here is my personal opinion, not financial advice. And if you like this video, if it helps you in any way, make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Leave comments down about what you're concerned on so I can help you answer some questions as well. Let's get started. Alright, so let's start off by just talking about what happened and what are the real reasons. So just if you just look at the markets right now, there's no real fundamental reasons as to why Bitcoin prices are crashing. In terms of big news announcements, nothing. Really, the only thing you can really relate it to is the launch of Bakkt, which happened 2 days ago, and market had way more time to react to it. So really here what we're seeing is only really TA, technical analysis, can explain what's going on. We were in this triangle for the longest amount of time, and there was a potential big movement either up or down. And in this case, really it went down. So if you describe it like that, it doesn't feel very scary. There's nothing like the sky is not really falling from from out under you. There was a buildup of suspense as to where it will go, and traders were hedging bets either way. All right, so if you really look closely at what did happen, yes, we were building up a downward momentum, so from 9,600 down to 9,300. But the majority of the price action happened within a 50-minute candle from 9,300 to 8,600. And that definitely sent all the orders spiraling and getting a cascading effect, triggering stop losses, etc. And we really dived down to 8,100 before we kind of realized, okay, that's where our resistance line is. So we discovered a new resistance line, 8,100. And now right now what we're doing is we're kind of just stabilizing. We're seeing where this can go. And a lot of people obviously are definitely afraid of what can be next. Now, what I'm thinking and I'm bracing myself for next is potential slides down to 7,600. Some people were definitely like, I think it's a mental bracing of oneself to go there. It's possible right now, especially because our order books are very thin, because we can be affected, and because people are really put off. Now, what was interesting beforehand, coming into all this, is that the technical analysis of this indicated that big things were happening, but it didn't really indicate which direction. I think we're 50-50 split on, are we going to go up, break out above the triangle, or go down below the triangle. Now, because we went down below the triangle, I am, of course, adopting my trading strategy. So something I've been saying for a while now, almost 4 months, is that I've been dollar cost average selling. So what I saw was that this rise from 7,000, from 6,000, to 10,000 and 10,000, $11,000 for Bitcoin. That was quite fast for me, and I was slowly allocating funds to be sold on a consistent basis. Now, definitely now, because of this crash, because we purged a lot of the hype, I'm going back in. So that's what I'm doing today, where I'm looking at that buying opportunity that I was waiting for is finally here, but I'm not going all in at once. I think that's a lot of what some people do. They tend to all go in. For me, it's all about dollar cost averaging, so I'm switching that to dollar cost average buy and preparing for this long term average. The reason why I say this is because I feel like this market, we're gonna move to more sideways action still, surprisingly. Because right now, in terms of like big moons and big explosions, what I see is that we don't have the new people here yet. So right now it's a long period where we do wait out the bear and do kind of pick up cheap Bitcoin if possible, and that's where dollar cost averaging really comes in, where you're kind of averaging out over time. So if it does drop, yeah, fine, that's great, that's good. And once we go into a bull market, then you're ready for it. You're all prepared for it. So that's actually, ironically, that's what I was kind of looking for. So I know a lot of people are probably freaking out right now, feeling, oh crap, the sky's falling from under above us, and will Bitcoin crash to zero? Will ETH crash to zero? What's everyone holding? For me, I'm actually looking for buying opportunities, and right now, that's when I'm making the switch. Next up, I want to answer this question. I mean, I saw a lot of people who were concerned that the sky is falling. Is ETH going to go to zero? If EO is going to go to zero? If I don't know, BNB is going to go to zero, etc. I'm going to chime in on my take on the long-term fundamentals of the space. So I think for the longest amount of time, cryptocurrency, the whole climate, we're moving to a situation where we're trying to really figure out what is the long-term fundamental use of these cryptocurrencies. And what we realized with Ethereum, especially with this whole idea of a smart contract platform, a lot of people are um, almost calling to question whether there's a long-term use for something like ETH. And I really took a balanced approach to it. This is something that I've been trying to establish over some period of time to really take that balanced approach, because extremists would say, yeah, Ethereum's dead, it's useless, just like it's too centralized, or I don't even know how the argument works. And the opportunists would say, yeah, it has a lot of promises because of the fact that you can essentially program, make programmable smart money. I mean, how amazing is that? And I'm really trying to take that balanced approach here, where I realize that it does take a long time to really develop good use cases for this technology. It's not going to be replacing anything we know existently, because like I think that's a big misconception. Everyone's thinking, oh look, we're gonna make decentralized apps and the same thing as Uber but decentralized. It's not gonna do that. It's not gonna be a one-to-one replacement, but rather what Ethereum and smart contract platforms need to do is to come up with applications that can only be done in a decentralized manner. So we're talking about something like DeFi, where you can really do finance without banks, and we're just barely scratching the surface of it. And in fact, the biggest trial, the biggest beta test for that was the whole ICO run. So during the ICO madness, every month people are raising $1 billion, and Ethereum behaved exactly like the way it was predicted to do. Now, obviously, that's not a sustainable growth model. The whole idea of fundraising, that's just too crazy. But what we can see is that we're not. Ethereum is really a blank piece of paper. Any smart contract, and I'm using Ethereum in a very general sense, any smart contract platform is a blank piece of paper. And we do need to kind of have good minds to think of what to do with it next. And that's where I see us going in the future. Like it needs to be a period of time where we try to figure out what works well with a decentralized platform and really grow that. And that's where the promises come in. That's why I think for me, I've never given up on the smart contract space, this decentralized platform space. For me, that's been a core. But also that discovery phase is going to be brutal. And that's what I've been bracing myself for. So I don't think the sky's going to fall any moment. There's still a lot of exploration to do. but that exploration is gonna be a really brutal process of high fluctuation, and that's kind of the name of the game. That's the name of the crypto game. I'm gonna chime in a little bit on Backed as well. So a lot of people were very disappointed with the launch of Backed. It's a subsidiary of the Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, same guys who made the New York Stock Exchange. And from such a big entity coming into the space, a lot of people expected a lot more trades and for a lot more new entries, and a lot more on ramps. And I think this is where a lot of the disappointment really came in, the origins of this, because people kind of expected Moon, crazy backs coming, we're gonna break out above positive. But when it did launch, I mean, obviously on day one, the trade volume was low, 71 Bitcoins. I mean, that's less than $1 million. And I think it's also to do with expectations because obviously Backed and it's industry, it's institutional grade. That's what I'll probably say it. They were looking for retail investors. They were also catering a lot to institutions, and and people were like kind of making that link, right? You have institutions like Fidelity holding 2.48 trillion, trillion with a capital T. And I think it's issue of expectations because you're hearing these numbers, trillions of dollars that can send Bitcoin prices up to the 250,000s. This is what people were waiting for. And with the launch, obviously it didn't do that, and there was a lot of disappointment. And I just want to chime in a little bit here about what I feel about the situation, which is that I understand it takes a long time for any institutional investors to really come in and actually buy Bitcoin. The reason for that is because the way institutions present themselves, the reason why people trust them with money is because they sell themselves as responsible. And now this is really purely marketing, and it's to do with a lot of politics as well. Because what happens is that if you call yourself responsible, you can't really make drastic changes. Otherwise, like drastic investments, like if you throw $1 trillion into Bitcoin and all of a sudden Bitcoin goes down 10, 20%, well, all the other funds and all the other professionals in the space, they're gonna just laugh their asses off you and steal clients, even though this might be a good decision. So this is when the herd mentality comes in the institution space, and we've seen that a lot. Where if one big fund jumps in and is followed by two or three of their friends, all of a sudden the industry just flocks in, and it's like it creates that bull mentality, that bull FOMO push almost. And this does happen in the private space. It does happen in the institution space, and that's because institution is just a very herd mentality. Once that FOMO comes, it becomes irresponsible not to buy something. But it's always about having that first push, and that first push just isn't here yet. Right now, as of right now, a lot of people don't understand what is Bitcoin. It's only been around 10 years, guys. And even though that we've been through a lot, we've been watching the markets every single day and watching the news, a lot of average Joe, they still don't fully understand what is the real meaning of this. And this is when, in the long term, there were arguments made, and I do support these arguments, where not investing in Bitcoin is irresponsible. So so buying Bitcoin is a responsible thing. This is for funds, etc. Because what we see unstable centralized banking systems, which for the longest time had a monopoly on the whole financial system, where banks, they go through a regulation process. But what happens is after they get licensed, after they get like fathered into the system, they become pretty abusive. And this is where software and code, where when we don't trust a single entity, a centralized entity, but we trust in a code that we all run ourselves, that's when it becomes valuable. And this is why I'm here for the long term, and that's where my passions are. So anyways, guys, I made this video pretty quickly. Right now I'm in Thailand, so just having a little bit of a break from everything. For the longest time, I just saw things were like, personally, I just needed a little break. And I realized things were so cheap here. Like I got this place for like 60, $70 almost, and it's just so nice. And stuff is like a tenth of the price. I'm just really glad I found this place, being able to kind of just take a little bit of a break, pull back a little bit, and just be in a much more kind of fighting spirit going forward. And I hope you guys, if you guys ever come to Bali, Indonesia, this place is awesome. And I'll try to, yeah, if you guys are interested, there's a huge community. I'll make introductions. Come on to Telegram channel. So I have a Telegram channel right now where we discuss a lot of the stuff and answer a lot of questions and just be able to communicate with other people. That's been amazing. It's all free to join, etc. So come on, Box Mining, Box Nation, come on, check it out, and let's move forward.